Okay, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rekakadash, and double honors and respect to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth, as well as much respect and honors to the brothers that are pushing this truth in sincerity across the four winds of this earth and risking their lives and freedom to do so. I would also like to give much honors and respect to the brothers and sisters that are of the hopeful elect that are doing their very best to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High to the best of their abilities. Shalom. I have this article right here, and this is actually a fairly new article. It popped up on my phone today, and here these devils, they're back at it again, okay, trying to instill fear in people, so people will run down there and allow these devils to violate them. But with that being said, we saw the outcome of what happened to a lot of people who trusted in these devils, with that stuff during that last scamdemic. People have dropped. People are having all types of health issues and whatnot. Here it is. I have family members who ran down there and they trusted in these devils, okay, with that stuff. And here it is. I'm having family members that are in and out of the hospital. They've become unhealthy. I've even had family members to become unalive, all because they ran down and they trusted in Esau with that stuff. But, here it is. You have this devil Esau. He's back at it again, trying to instill fear in people, to try to get people to run down there, and trust in him and roll up their sleeves and allow him to violate them with that, that cocktail that he done came out with. And so, with this article right here, I'm going to be very careful with the words that I say because you already know how these devils like to get down. But the title of the article, and it's not a long article, the title of the article, it says New Contagious DVOC Strand Now Circulating in California. Health experts warn. Here's what to know. It says scientists at Stanford have detected a new DVOC strand that experts say is already evident in wastewater samples in California, even as access to Beetlejuices is being restricted. Again, these devils with their fear tactics, okay, trying to scare people, into allowing, him, Esau. When I say him, I'm talking about Esau. This devil, he's trying to basically scare people into, basically running down there and trusting in him with that stuff. And again, okay, we've seen what happened to a lot of these people who trusted in this devil with that stuff during the last scamdemic. It says DVOC is still evolving and scientists are keeping close tabs on the MB1A1, a substrand detected in China last month and now is circulating the Bay Area. It's been reported in Europe and it's been reported here in the U.S. and we've seen it here in our wastewater in California. In wastewater, so it's around, said Dr. John Schwartzberg, a UC Berkeley expert in pesticides and Beetlejuices. It says experts say the good news is this strand does not appear to be more virulent, but it looks like it's more contagious. It says it appears to be able to attach to the receptor sites on our cells more avidly with greater ability, which may mean it's more transmissible, which would not be good news, Dr. Schwartzberg said. It says DVOC numbers have been low in 2025 so far, but that could change in the coming months. Again, with their fear, okay, trying to, incite fear in people so people will run down there and trust in these devils with that stuff. It says come the fall and next winter respiratory season, if you will, that we will see a resurgence. More people getting infected with the circulating strand, more people becoming hospitalized, and more people becoming unalive, said U.S. Berkeley etymology professor Dr. Arthur Ringold. It says that could be factored into decisions about the upcoming DVOC Beetlejuice. It says even as Beetlejuice access is being restricted, with the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now removing the cocktail from the CDC's schedule for pregnant women and healthy children. Okay. It says, we know if you're Beetlejuiced, okay, during pregnancy, that, those antibodies help develop, those antibodies mom develops pass through to the baby and protect infants up to 6 months of age from the DVOC. So all of this protection is being lost by this decision, Dr. Schwartzberg said. And see, we know that this is a lie right here, okay? Because here it is, it's come out that a lot of these women, okay, that, trusting in these devils with that stuff, and they got that stuff in them. A lot of women have been having miscarriages and whatnot, all because they ran down there and they trusted in this devil Esau with that Beetlejuice, okay? And so this stuff is dangerous, okay? It's liquid death. That's what it is, okay? And you should not be trusting these devils with that stuff, okay? They're full of lies and they're full of deception, and they've proven time and time again that they're not to be trusted. It says, I personally am going to get a Beetlejuice. I recommend my friends and family get the Beetlejuice, Dr. Ringgold said. Well, Dr. Ringgold, you go right on ahead and you can get all of them, okay? But again, Israel, and when I say Israel, I'm talking about you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and those that are of the speckled bird that look like these other nations, but you go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. Israel, these devils, they're playing the same hand that they played before, trying to instill fear in people. And they're not to be trusted, okay? Because, again, we saw the outcome of what happened to a lot of people who ran down there and trusted in these devils during that first scamdemic. A lot of people, have dropped. A lot of people are having all types of health issues, okay? Millions of people have become unalive all because they trusted in this devil with that stuff, And see, here it is. Speaking of that stuff that these devils came out with, here it is. I have a family member, that goes to this particular church, or I should say a harlot house. And this family member, they go to this harlot house, and this harlot house was really pushing that stuff very hard for Esau, okay? During that sea scamdemic. And here it is. I don't know how, but I guess maybe this family member must have added me to the distribution list of this church. Because here it is, I've never been to this church before in my life. But for some reason, I get emails for like the past maybe 4 years or so. I've been getting emails, okay, from this particular church. And so that's how I know that this church was pushing that Beetlejuice very hard, okay, during that sea scamdemic. But with that being said, it seems like almost every couple of weeks or so, I'm getting emails from this church, saying that I'm sorry to inform you that this person has passed away. Or no, this family member has passed away. Or keep this family member in your prayers, okay, because they've lost a loved one. It seems like almost every couple of weeks for over the past 4 years, I've been getting emails, okay, from this particular church, okay? And again, this particular church or this harlot house, that pork chop eating pastor that was over that church, he pushed that stuff very hard, pushed it very hard. And you had a lot of people that ran down there, and they trusted in that pork chop eating pastor, and they ran down to Esau and they allowed Esau to violate them, But again, this devil has proven time and time again that he is not to be trusted. And here it is, this devil, he's trying to instill fear. He's playing the same hand, or he's using the same hand that he played before, trying to instill fear in people. Don't fear this devil, Israel. Okay, if you're going to fear someone, you fear the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, okay, and not this devil. And the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua told us to never trust thy enemy. And Esau has proven time and time again that he is the enemy and that he does not have your best interest at heart, okay? And so what I'm going to go ahead on and do is I'm going to bring out a few scriptures and then we will end the lesson. I don't plan to keep this lesson long at all. Okay, the first scripture I want to go to is in the book of 2 Corinthians, and this is chapter 2, and this is verse 11. And it reads, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And see, here it is, all of these different fear tactics that this devil is using, okay, to try to get people to run down there and trust in him. Okay, these different Beetlejuices that this devil is coming up with. This is just, this is just a couple of his devices, okay, to try to push forth his agenda. And see, Esau, starting with these elite bankers, they have an agenda, okay, and part of that agenda is to, they depopulate. And they're trying to bring in their NWO, and they want to depopulate. Okay, and see, this devil, what he really wants to do is he really wants to do away with the nation of Israel. Again, who are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and those that are of the speckled bird that look like these other nations, but you go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. And he really wants the elect of Israel because he knows that the nation of Israel, starting with the elect of Israel, is up next for rulership. Okay, and this devil, he's trying to do everything he can to extend his rulership. But no matter how hard he tries, okay, this devil only has a set amount of time to rule, okay, and we're at the end of this devil's rulership, okay? And so all of these different fear tactics that this devil is using, okay, to try to get people to comply with him, okay, all of these different Beetlejuices that this devil is coming up with, this is just one of his many devices, okay, to try to lead off a bunch of people, okay, and to try to keep people in a weakened state, to try to keep people's lives short and whatnot, okay? Esau does not have your best interest at heart, Israel, and this devil has proven it time and time again. He's not to be trusted. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, and this is verse 11 again. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay, and see, here it is when this devil came out with that Beetlejuice, during the C-scamdemic, the warnings went out. You had the men of the Lord blowing the trumpet, warning our people to stay clear of that mess. But what did a lot of our people do? Okay, a lot of our people, they're hard-headed. Okay, they ignored the warnings. And so they ran down there and they trusted in this devil Esau. And now as a result, okay, you got a lot of our people, they dropped. Okay, a lot of our people, their health is on the decline. Here it is, as I was saying, I have family members who ran down and they trusted in Esau and they allowed Esau to violate them. Several of those family members have, dropped. And a lot of them, are having all types of health issues in and out of the hospital and whatnot, Also, too, classmates. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but, every so often, I get emails, okay, talking about, that this classmate, he became unalive unexpectedly. That classmate, she became unalive unexpectedly. And we know what's going on, okay? A lot of these people, as, they ran down and they trusted in this devil with that stuff. And, this is what happens when you trust in the devil, versus trusting in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Anytime you trust in this devil Esau, it never ends well. Because he's the wicked. Okay, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, and this is chapter 38, and this is verses 4. And it reads, the Lord had created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise would not abhor them. Okay, and see, the Most High gave us herbs as medicine. But here it is, you have this devil, I think his name was John D. Rockefeller. He changed all of that. And see, this devil, John D. Rockefeller, he changed how medicine was practiced, to basically, feed big pharma's pockets, okay, and to keep people in and out of the healthcare system, okay, because here it is, he's not curing them, okay, his goal was to not cure them, okay, his goal was to basically, treat them for one, condition. But then, the treatment that he's using causes another condition. So it's basically keeping the people in and out of the healthcare system, basically, squeezing all the money and the life out of the people. OK, this John D. Rockefeller, he was a straight up devil. OK, and seeing with that being said, these devils are going to have to pay for all the crimes and the wickedness that they have done. And so, again, OK, stay clear of this devil Esau and all of these different Beetlejuices that he's coming up with. Because, again, this devil, he doesn't have your best interest at heart. OK, and, we see what's happening to a lot of these people who trusted in these devils with that stuff. They dropping left and right, having all types of, issues and whatnot. Health is on a steady decline, Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, and this is chapter 30, and this is verse 1. It says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, that take counsel, but not of me, that cover with their covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Okay, and see, many of our people, they're rebellious, they're hard-headed. The 2/3 of our people over here in Babylon the Great, they're rebellious as hell. They don't want to listen to the men of the Lord. They reject the words of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And so the Most High says, woe, meaning destruction to those of our people who are rebellious and who don't want to, take, heed to the words of the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua.
And see, here it is, during that, that sea scamdemic, you had many of our people, they ran down there to Esau, okay, and they drank his Beetlejuice. Okay, and so what they did was they took a counsel and they took a covering of this devil Esau versus taking a counsel and a covering of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And we're seeing the outcome of what happens, okay, when you trust in the devil versus trusting in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, anytime you trust in the devil versus trusting in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it always ends bad. Okay, because again, what you're doing is you're taking a covering that's of this devil versus taking a covering, of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And see, a lot of our people, they took a covering and a counsel of the devil. And this is why a lot of, our people are dropping left and right and having all types of issues and whatnot. Isaiah chapter 30, this is verse 2. It says that walk to go down to Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Okay, and see, many of our people, they put their trust and faith, in Esau, who is the modern day Pharaoh. Okay, and here it is, they trust in this devil Esau and his system, versus trusting in the Lord. And that's totally going off because Esau is the enemy. And the Lord told us to never trust our enemy as pursuant to the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 10. And again, this devil Esau has proven time and time again that he is the enemy. All you got to do is just look at history. Okay, this devil, he's been, unaliving and oppressing our people all throughout history. And he's still doing it to this day. Isaiah chapter 30, and this is verse 3. It says, therefore should the strength of Pharaoh be your shame and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. Okay, and see, those by people who put their trust in Esau, who again is the modern day Pharaoh and his Beetlejuice, is leading to their shame and confusion. Okay, because they're having all types of issues and they're dropping left and right, And again, here it is. I had a lot of family members who were really pushing for others, to try to get that stuff, to try to trust it. I had family members who was trying to get others to trust in Esau and follow the lead and run down there and drink that stuff, Here it is. I had family members, as I've said it before, they had turned on me and everything. I had some family members even cuss me out because I wouldn't follow their lead and run down there and allow Esau to violate me. But now here it is, those same family members, they're having all types of health issues, and they're all quiet and nervous and scared. They're not saying anything now, okay? They act like it ain't never happened, And then here it is, they're seeing, okay, and some of these, these classmates that I've been telling you about, that have been becoming unalive and whatnot, some of these family members, they know those classmates of mine. But, and they see what's going on. But, here it is. They want to act like it's something else. OK, they want to act like they don't see what's actually happening. OK, because therefore, if they acknowledge what's actually happening, then they have to admit that they were wrong. OK, and see, that's a lot. That's a lot of our people, they're prideful. OK, they don't want to admit when they're wrong. Okay, this is Psalms, and this is chapter 118, and I want to start in verse 8. And it reads, it is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua than to put confidence in princes. And that's right, because here it is. Many of our people during that last scamdemic, they put their trust in man. They put their trust in Esau. They put their trust in the government. They listen to a lot of these fake religious leaders and pulpit pimps, versus putting their faith and trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, and because of trusting in man and, trusting in princes versus trusting in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua, many of our people, they've compromised their health. Okay, their health has been compromised, and many of our people are dropping left and right. Okay, this is going to be my last scripture, then we will end the lesson. And this is Proverbs, and this is chapter 3, and I want to start in verse 5. And it reads, trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. And see, here it is, we're supposed to trust in the Lord and not lean on our own understanding. And the Lord says to never trust our enemy. Okay, and Esau, again, has proven time and time, okay, that he is our enemy. Okay, but what did our people do? Okay, during that last scamdemic, they leaned on their own understanding and they trusted in their enemy. Okay, and as a result, okay, people have dropped. Okay, people are having all types of issues and whatnot. Their health is on a steady decline, all because they trusted in Esau. Okay, they leaned on their own understanding and they trusted in Esau versus trusting in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Proverbs chapter 3, and this is verse 6. It says, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct our paths. And see, we're supposed to, lean on the Lord and acknowledge him in all of our ways. And by, acknowledging and putting all of our trust in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, he will keep us on a straight and righteous path, to avoid all of these different snares that this devil Esau was out here setting. Okay. And again, that Beetlejuice, okay, that C-scamdemic, okay, all of these different fear tactics that this devil is coming up with. Okay. These are, just a couple of this devil's many snares. Okay. And a lot of our people, they got caught up into these snares. Okay. And we're seeing the outcome of what happens. Okay. When you trust in the enemy, when you trust in this devil Esau, okay, versus trusting in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Okay. Because here it is. Again, people are having all types of issues left and right. People dropping left and right. All because they trusted in Esau versus trusting in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And I'm speaking to you, Israel. And again, when I say Israel, I'm talking about you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and those that are of the speckled bird that look like these other nations, but you go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. Anytime you trust in this devil Esau, it never ends well, okay? Because he doesn't have your best interest at heart, Israel. And so that's pretty much the point. I'm going to go ahead and end off here. I hope it was edifying. Once again, I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, and double honors and respect to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Kwam Yasharala and Abba Baba. Shalom.